health medical research funding. It's taken pretty big hits as far as federal spending and all is going, Health and Human Services and so forth. Anything the Senate's going to do about that, or what?
Well, some research that was paused has resumed. Some research funding that's paused has resumed, and that's a result in part of the Senate working with the administration. Some funds that were cut, I think, were appropriately cut. The president announced recently that he was going to stop funding for diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives at NIH. I think that's an inappropriate use of taxpayer funds. That money needs to be going towards core medical and scientific research. Earlier this year, they made changes to the way that funding is allocated. So less money is going to pay for administration overhead, things like electricity or debt service on buildings, and more going to actually fund core scientific research. And again, I think that's a welcome change, the way the federal government helps fund scientific and medical research.
Okay, thank you.
So, Senator, a new study that came out by the Congressional Budget Office that showed the lower 10% would lose about $1,200 from the Big Beautiful Bill. What is your response to that?
Now, the Big Beautiful Bill is going to cut taxes. In fact, it's a historic tax cut. The Congressional Budget Office numbers have often been wrong in the past. I predict they're going to be wrong here. Most Americans are going to, first off, not see their taxes go up, which would have been the case at the end of the year. But then you have a lot of other provisions that are actually going to lower their taxes. So the standard deduction for more than 90% of all Arkansans is going up. If you work in a field where you get tips or you get a lot of overtime, or if you're a senior citizen on Social Security, you're also going to see your taxes cut. And that doesn't account for any of the other provisions that support businesses who are going to create more jobs, be able to pay more. So I think most Arkansans are going to see a healthy pay raise, either in the form of lower taxes or better wages from the Big Beautiful Bill.
What do you expect tomorrow when President Trump meets Vladimir Putin?
Well, I have measured expectations for that meeting, as President Trump has said he has as well. He doesn't expect a final peace agreement. He hopes, as I hope, that we can have a ceasefire. He's ready for ceasefire. President Zelensky from Ukraine is ready for a ceasefire. I think he wants to get a sense of whether Vladimir Putin is ready for one. If not, we're already continuing to support Ukraine with weapons delivered through NATO. The president said he'll impose new sanctions on Russia, especially on their oil exports, which fund their war machine. I support legislation that's got more than 80 sponsors in the Senate that would help the president by imposing those sanctions under law. So I think the president, again, has measured expectations about that meeting, as do I. But I do hope that it's the first step to a ceasefire and ultimate peace settlement that will stop the fighting in Ukraine, help Ukraine stay on its feet, defend its borders, and prepare for the long-term future.
With the president seeking federal control in Washington, D.C., would you ever support that in Arkansas if it got to a level here?
Well, Washington is different from any other city in the country because Washington's a federal city. It was designed to be a federal city under the control of the federal government. And crime, unfortunately, is out of control in Washington, D.C. Thousands of Arkansans come to visit me every year in Washington, and they're at risk, just like the millions of Americans who live there or work there or travel there. And the federal government has a unique responsibility for the safety and the well-being of Washington, D.C., making it a livable city, a safe city for people to visit. And that's why the president, I think correctly, has used not just the National Guard in a logistical support role, but also taking a more direct role with the D.C. police, use the FBI, use the Park Police, and other federal law enforcement agencies to crack down on the worst and most violent offenders in Washington.
What are you hearing from your constituents when you ask them about the biggest issues they're facing in Arkansas?
Well, a lot of Arkansans are very excited about the Big Beautiful Bill, and sometimes the parts of the bill that maybe didn't get that much attention because they weren't controversial. For instance, the bill has an update to the Farm Bill that John Bozeman authored as chairman of the Agriculture Committee. That helps our farmers by raising the floor for their products at a time they're still suffering over the inflation they faced in the Biden era. It also reforms the food stamp program by making sure that food stamps are going to people who actually need it, not deadbeats or people who won't work or illegal aliens. The bill also has a lot of funding for our energy industry that we hope is going to bring down costs for you at the pump or heating your home or air conditioning your home. For those of you who are in the military or have kids who are in the military or veteran, it has a generational investment in our military. So it was a big bill, and we think it was a very beautiful bill that's going to pay dividends for the people of Arkansas for a very long time.
I think we're all set here, guys. Thank you so much.
Do we have time for one more question?
Sure.
One more question.
We have one more question. Have you been tracking the Devil's Den murder in Washington County where the couple died?
Yeah, it's a terrible tragedy. And I was just consulting with Governor Sanders a couple days about it. I met with the FBI field office in Little Rock, who helped contribute to the outstanding work of local law enforcement. Obviously, it was a shocking murder, and we all pray for those two little girls and their family, and hope that that murderer gets exactly what he deserves.